firearm. If he doesn't have it, you probably don't need it. And PHLster holsters. Can't do a sub 5-second fast drill? We'll get a PHLster holster. If you still can't, well, at least you know it's not the holster's fault. And primary and secondary, the definitive source for the armed professional and the responsible citizen. Quit your bitching about all the rules and get better.
Scott, how are you?
Very good. Hey guys, welcome to the MSP podcast, nicknamed the Get Better podcast, nicknamed the Self-Reliant podcast. Why do I say it's about self-reliance and getting better and not just the 2A lifestyle? Because it's more than just about training with guns, guys. It's about working out. It's about martial arts. It's about getting your medical on. It's about nutrition and everything just to get better. Because you know what? No one's going to help you. No one's coming to save you. So very, very excited to have my friend Tim Gramins on. Is it Gramins or Gramins? It's Gramins.
Gramins, yeah. You got it right.
Okay.
Gramins, you got it.
So it's Tim Gramins. Per my course, guys, or my rules, I don't like to do introductions because I will always screw them up. Tim, tell us a little bit about yourself and why the hell you think I have you on my podcast.
Okay, well, hey, obviously I met Scott through his course, the Modern Samurai Project, Red Dot Pistol. I wanted to take it, wanted to see what Red Dots was about. But, when I look for a class, I look for a quality instructor, quality reviews based on people I know in the community, especially the SWAT community. So just, a little bit about myself. Skokie police officer. I'm a sergeant there. I've worked at the department 24 years. Of the 24 years, I've been on our SWAT team 20 years now, about ready to get off. By trade on SWAT, I'm a sniper observer. I run our sniper team. So the shooting part, the marksmanship part, the ballistic part, all that, all good. But in my role at the police department, I've developed into running our range. So I'm now currently our range master. So it's encompassing everything in what I can bring to all the officers of the police department, what's good, what's bad, obviously responsible for all the range officers. And we want to make sure they're getting the best instruction for, not only my range officers, but for me to pass on to the range officers, to pass on to the officers. Right. Mm-hmm. So, part of that involves obviously, hey, I select or I'm responsible for selecting, researching, T&ing, any development on new products, what's out there, what's good, what's working, the weapon systems we're going to use, implement, and allow. So that kind of all falls under, my purview, right? So kind of back to how I met you. We're seeing obviously the increase in technology and red dots on, the long guns and rifles. And then obviously you see the introduction of the mini red dot, on the handgun platform with shooters such as yourself and all the shooting competitions and all the top shooters. And obviously you can run the open class in irons, or you can also run the red dot sight, right? Mm-hmm. So, and now that the technology's gotten better with the red dot sights, I'm like, okay, we really need to take, a look at what's going on here for the handgun, for the police officer. And you start looking at the studies like Sage Dynamics and everybody else that's doing the studies on the red dot and researching it. And I'm like, okay, it's my responsibility. I got to find out what's going on. So I did a little shopping, looked around, because it's not only just, what equipment we're going to use, but hey, how do we implement the training for the equipment, everything else like that. So I did some shopping. Obviously, I look into things and I did research. And hey, who did I find to be, based on what's out there, who's the best red dot teacher? Well, that's you. That's you.
Wow. Okay, let's be careful, because the internet and this
there's some good ones.
Thing, right?
There are some good ones, right? Well, in my humble opinion, you were an outstanding option. So I know you're going to be a little bit humble, but you were an outstanding option just based on people I know and trust in the community. Law enforcement officers, on who did a realistic job of teaching the class in the red dot. So that your name kept popping up consistently. You came to the Chicago area. I'm like, I'm all in on this for the training. Mm-hmm. So it was great. So I'm all in, signed up for your class 2 years ago. It was a phenomenal class. Took away a ton. And that's obviously now how we know each other. So,
right.
The best part about, you and I is like, I know I could pick up the phone and talk to you anytime if I wanted, and you would do the same if you had a question, because that's just who you are as a person. Right. And, and I liked your mindset and your teaching ability and what you offered. So, and here now we are today doing a podcast. So that's the intro. I hope that covered it for you. But that's
almost right. So for all my face shooter friends, it's like, okay, that's awesome. He's Popo. He's a range master. He's a sniper. Yada yada. So let's go into briefly, because it's been said before. The articles are out there. The interviews are out there. Why are you famous though, Tim?
Oh, okay. So I wouldn't say I would not say I'm famous. I would say, obviously, as a police officer, we're incredibly busy. As a police officer on August 25th, 2008, I was just involved in one incident. I've been involved in that. It's caught quite a bit of attention. Where I was involved in a shootout. It was a 56-second long shootout with an offender that robbed a bank in Northbrook. So it was a me against him shootout back then, and it hit quite the bit of media attention. Obviously you have a cop versus bank robber in a shootout with handguns, and that caught a lot of articles, a lot of press. So that's how my name is out there. Obviously I'm here today to talk about it, so it worked out well for me on the winning side. But you can look that up. You can read about it. If you just Google Tim Gramins, there's plenty out there on it. But that was my incident. So I don't know how much you want to delve into that, but
well, so let's kind of go over the highlights of it, because again, I don't want to go over what some other really great interviews. Like, guys, check it. For those of you that, again, Self-Reliant Lifestyle, check out the Concealed Carry podcast. The interview that Tim did over there was awesome, and I don't want to be redundant to that one, but anytime I get interviewed, guess what we're going to talk about? Dots on pistols, right? So we're going to talk to you, right? But what I want to get into is we're going to let's do a little bit of an overview of that fight and what lessons we learned from that fight, and how you've gone in your own training to kind of fill in those blanks. Even though you decisively won, you're here today, right? So 54 rounds.
Well, so 33 for me.
33. Okay.
I fired 33. He fired 22. So started out vehicle pursuit. Pulled off. He hopped out of the car. First started shooting with a Smith & Wesson 5906. So he emptied that to stovepipe on the last round. There's pictures out there. Ran up on my car. So my first 12, I was using a Glock 21. Spear gold dots, ammo, gun, functioned flawlessly, right? But my first mag was through my windshield at him, and that's part of why it's out there. Because officers don't very often shoot through glass. Now it's constant. I'm still trying to look for a loser on that, where an officer's fired back through windshield and lost. I haven't found one. So
okay,
just going through there, the barrier, and then obviously shooting seated position, squad car. You're fighting from a squad car, not a good place to fight from. I like to be a little bit more mobile. Get out reloads. In the training reloads, my reloads were automatic.
I want to get into that. I want to get into that for sure. a little bit, right? Because I talk about that in my class. I actually bring up your name, and I know we had a brief conversation before about it, but I want to make sure that my facts are correct on that. But we'll go through that. So that fight, as far as distance, I think you told me ranged anywhere from 1 yard to 20 yards.
At least, yeah. So 1 to 20 is a pretty good spread. Yeah, 1 yard was when he was right up on my window, fired at me through. He put one right through the seat of my squad car, through the driver's side window, because he ran right up to my driver's side window. And then the furthest was when I proned out. So then there was a portion of the fight where I ran by him as well. So we had two moments where we were about less than 3 feet apart from each other in the gun battle. So it was pretty fluid.
Under a car, you shot from under a car.
Under a car when I was prone, yeah. So we had a lot going on. Yeah,
you tried skipping rounds.
Yeah, there was a lot going on. Yeah, so, but it was just, when you're in that, it's your tactics and training definitely take over, right? So, and it's it's really fluid, and I think the one part people don't talk about in gun battles is they'll talk about a lot of this, but I think the tactic part or the tactical mindset or the mindset of, if you make better moves,
Yeah.
it's going to be advantageous to you, right? So, how you run, work your tactics and run your tactics is really important. And, one thing I took away is I studied the game before, like other officers' shootings, but now I study the game of other officer shootings even more, right? Where in the way I look at it is I study what works or what won, if that makes sense. So you look at the tactic and see, hey, what tactic worked in that gunfight? And I'll take that tactic, then I'll try and run that tactic and practice that tactic.
Okay.
If that makes sense. So
yeah,
it's working, right? And, obviously flanking's huge, mobility's huge. In my gunfight, like I was on the run, firing some just point and shoot rounds, no aim fire. Those didn't work out very well for me. But when you're running, obviously it was one-handed shooting. I'm running right at them, and then I'm running around. So, that didn't work. So you learn really quick about just getting a good shooting platform and position, and obviously making quality hits is really important. Just take that extra second, make quality hits. Like when I was proned out, shooting underneath the car was on a grade, proned out, stable shooting platform, great shooting platform, and really, finding time to focus on the sights. Now, that being said, when you're as fluid and dynamic as things are, you're not always going to have those moments, right? So take what you can take, if that makes sense. Take what you can take. I mean, if you're given, I like literally ran at him, we crossed paths, like I ran at him, right?
Yeah.
Foot away, 3 feet away, point shooting right at him. Well,
Right.
I'm hitting there, but that's just what the gunfight had in it, right? And recognizing, hey, he had no idea where I was. I charge. Everyone's like, why the hell would you charge? Well, hey, it's instinct, right? What happens?
Right.
So recognize moments that you have as an advantage, and obviously, the other thing I would say is be in the offensive mindset. Be in the offensive mindset where you're overwhelming the OODA loop as opposed to reacting to what they're doing. Get in the offensive mindset as quick as you can, know what you're doing, and make them react to that as opposed to the other way around where you're reacting. So that was a pickup for me,
Okay. Okay. So basically, violence of action, offense is the best defense,
In this case, absolutely. Yeah. I would say in any gunfight, absolutely. I think you're much better making them move than you move if you can,
Right. Well, they always say, like, the audience is probably sick of me making, correlations to jiu-jitsu, right? But in jiu-jitsu, it's not the strongest, it's not the fastest. It's the guy who's 2 to 3 steps ahead that always wins.
Correct.
And you are never ahead if you're playing defense.
No. And I would agree 100%. And that's where, I really liked your perspective as an instructor, where you tied the martial arts perspective and the fighting perspective into the handgun perspective. And that's really important, because if, people don't understand, this isn't just like, hey, I can hit X's on a target, that's just sitting there. That's not what it's about. I mean, now times are important, because I'll want to break everything I do down to eighths of seconds and quarters of seconds, because speed matters, right?
Sure.
Tremendously, right? But it's not just how fast can I get on a target and make that hit on the X-ray, because things are a lot more dynamic than that when you're in fighting with someone. So, I mean, and that's what I really liked you as an instructor, because you brought kind of the total package on, hey, this is the fight, this is why it's a fight. I may not have done this, but I've done this, and this is how I see it relating. And you're really good at wrapping it up in a package.
I appreciate that. I mean, again, it's not about me; it's about you.
Well,
I appreciate that, bro. I really do, and that that means the world to me as someone that has not non-mil, non-LE, someone with your experience saying that is deeply humbling. But again, the audience is not here to hear me talk. But they do.
But I think it's important, and the reason why I bring it up is because I think sometimes we in the LE community get a little stuck in our lane of, I'm just going to go learn from a cop, or I'm going to go learn from this, or we're stuck in the classes that are offered, right? And then one thing I realized is, and aside from wanting to bring in the red dot technology to my agency, but the other thing I realized really quick is there are some really, really talented non-LEO, non-military personnel in the shooting community. And I think on my end, or in my opinion, as a police officer, I think, we are really missing out on some quality instruction by not hitting the private side of the fence oftentimes.
Yeah.
And, me having, reached out to the private side of the fence, or, like courses like yourself, and I'm really impressed with just the level of professionalism, the dedication that I see on the civilian side of things. And that's really comforting, because I got to be honest. I mean, there's only one of me for every 10 to 20, 12,000 people, right? So,
Right. Right.
I mean,
Right.
it's not comforting, Scott,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
but
No,
that's
I
where
got
it's
it.
nice to see.
Yep. So let's talk about a couple lessons learned and how you filled in those blanks, after obviously, like I said before, a successful engagement, right? But some lessons were to be learned there. What do you think? Well, actually, I'm just going to go because I know you already kind of talked about this before. So I think the biggest lesson that you took away from that, and correct me if I'm wrong, is capacity is king with a handgun.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we could get ballistics all over. I mean, I don't want to start the 45 verse 9 verse 40 verse 357 debate. It's a
Oh, it's
stupid
okay, dude.
debate.
That debate's dead, dude. The new
It's
debate
just
is the new
it's
debate is
stupid.
10 yard zero versus 25 yard zero for an RDS pistol. That's the new internet heat. So you can
Okay.
talk what you want.
Okay. So, but I mean, if you look at, okay, so, the ammunition manufacturers are doing such a great job, and, and then we can get into the, well, modern 45 handgun ammo is better than modern 9. Okay, great, great. They all do the same goddamn thing, right? So
Yeah.
we're not at 2,200 feet per second with any handgun round we want to talk about. Okay.
Right.
So we're not getting permanent wound cavity. So who cares?
Yeah.
Okay. They're all doing a good job. But with me, and why I say capacity is king, is I added 100 more rounds of ammo to my on-person loadout. And when I say on-person loadout, right?
Yeah.
For two more pounds. 2 more pounds. When I switched from a 45 package to a 9mm package,
Yeah.
add 100 rounds for 2 more pounds for ammo. It's going to do the exact same thing. Right now, the reason why I say on-person package is because if we can talk about this forever, but if you don't have it on you when it happens, forget about it. You're done. It's not with, forget about it, right?
Right.
So
Because in this fight, both you and the douchebag both had rifles in the car.
correct. I had he had an SKS in the front seat in a box.
Mm-hmm.
I had my AR-15 from SWAT with all my SWAT kit in the trunk of my car, and I also had a Remington 870 above my head, right? So, and this is where, for us, 95% of the time, the handgun's your primary fighting tool.
Yeah.
In the patrol setting, right? So have it on you, have the backup on you. But again, the capacity, here's why I think this is so huge, because you go through them in a hurry. If you figure out, and we'll talk about, hey, average shooter is going to go through 5 to 7 rounds a second, right? I mean, I don't, unless you're like Jerry Mitchell, like, or you or somebody else where you're shooting, like, I don't even know how the hell you guys do it, but you do it. But who's that other guy in our class? Man, is he fast? Tony Salas. Holy cow.
Tony's not real though. Tony Salas. Shout out to Tony Salas, man. That dude's trigger finger is sick. Sick.
He's got probably the fastest trigger finger I've seen. I mean, I don't know. I think he'd give Jerry a run for his money, but but I mean, unless you're one of those guys, like most of us normal trigger, finger people, is 5 to 7 rounds a second. Well, you look at that, and with that single stack 45, okay, well, you've got 8 rounds in there, maybe the 10 round mag in there, 11 rounds. So you're done in 2 seconds. You're reloading, and how fast are your reload splits compared to me not having to reload for, say that 17 round or 20 round or 24 round Glock mag or 33 round Glock mag in the gun, right? You're sitting there reloading where I'm getting free time shooting at you, and I don't have to worry about you shooting back, right? And that's where the capacity argument to me. So that's why that was a huge switch, was capacity. I want that shooting time. I don't want to have to be reloading. I want to be shooting. I want to be, hunting. I don't want to be reloading down. Right. So now Okay, great. So then you throw in another reason for the capacity aside from, hey, I'm not going to be down for the 1, 2 seconds, whatever, 3 seconds, whatever. I'm shooting, and then my second reload might match up. But then the other part of the capacity argument is, I've got those rounds available to use as I see fit, as opposing, like if you're going to give me a hand or you're going to give me an ankle, okay,
Mm-hmm.
if I take out your hand or I take out your ankle, is that going to be advantageous to me in the gunfight?
Sure.
Absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
it's not going to disable you, but it's going to slow you down and it might hurt. Right.
Yeah.
So that's an advantage. And how do you find those advantages in the gunfight? And that's what I'm talking about. Like, I study that part of it. How do I find that advantage in the gunfight that's gonna work out for me? So that's a win by being able to have that shot available. Or, hey, maybe I'm not hitting, but if I'm keeping them from flanking by, say, skipping rounds where they're doing peekaboo or ducking and they're thinking about getting hit as opposed to thinking about hitting me, because I have those extra rounds available to me, that helps me. That's a benefit in the gunfight. So why would I not take that, right?
Yeah, that's super interesting, man. When I heard you say that before, I was like, oh, because if you've got 8+1 or 12+1, you're going to be very, very, very frugal, especially if you don't have a reload like civilians carry sometimes,
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
you're running around with, or you did have 33 rounds, but now you got 100+ rounds, man, you see an ankle, backstop's good. Why not? You see a finger with backstop's good. Why not?
And that's, yeah, exactly. Because, and you'll be able to do that, right? And with us, it's, the argument's always, stop the threat, right? Well, that might be that shot with a, normal person. The guy I was up against was just incredible. I mean, no drugs, no nothing, but adrenaline, and he wanted to win. I wanted to win, right? So, when you put 14 rounds of 45 spear gold, great stuff, 230 green. It worked great, man. Great mushrooms, everything, but you got to hit what matters, right? Well, I hit, double heart shot, both lungs, kidney, liver. Okay, these are all fatal shots. It doesn't, and that's why I point, we're talking handgun rounds, right? There, people have a remarkable capacity to survive, right? So, the 3 to the head, so for 17 total, finally finish it off. But I mean, if think about that, 17 rounds, right? If I'm carrying the 9, and I fired 33, so hit rate just over, 50%, right?
Right.
But if I'm carrying that 9, that's only 2 mags for a total for the whole package, and I'm done, right? With my 45, I'm on my 3rd mag, throwing that extra mag change. That's another, say, 2.5 seconds on the mag change, 2 seconds. I mean, how fast are you, right? When you're running, moving, everything else, whatever. I mean,
well, dude, extendos are 22+1.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. But that's my point. So that's where, so we can go into that lesson, of capacity over and over and over. And I'm still going to say this. If you love your 1911 and you shoot it like lights out, man, and you want to carry that 45, hey, good for you. That's awesome. Go ahead. I don't care what you carry, but I'm just going to tell you, hey, this is why I switched to a 9. Sure. Now, I still love my 1911. I still love my Glock 21. But when I go to work, I need a work gun, right? I need a work package, right? And so yeah, I mean, when I carry off duty, I need a work package. I don't, but when I go shoot for fun, okay, hey, I'll go shoot those guns for fun. But for work, for survival, I'm running the 9.
Yeah, and to be clear, no one is saying if you carry an 8+1 1911 that you're going to get 187 to the thoroughfare. Nobody is saying that, internet. No. Relax, right?
Exactly.
Relax.
Please.
But like we always say, right? There is many ways, right? And very rarely, if ever, is there the way, right?
Correct.
Do what works for you, but make sure it's a metric. It's a metric, Awesome. All right. So that was the first lesson, right? What do you think was the second biggest lesson?
So, that would be an equipment change lesson. But for me, it was hey, I'm pretty good, but I I've always been, a lot of the officers would say, "Hey, man, I'm glad it was you in the gunfight." I'm like, "Thanks, dude." I guess thanks, but it's like, okay. But, but the reason why they say it, and when you have a chance to talk to them, the reason why they say it is like, "Tim, we know how serious you took your training, how dedicated you were to your training." And, so, you know, and they knew like, my fitness level and everything else like that, who I am as a person. I'm fairly intense, right? I was a D1 athlete in college and, it's just like, that athletic background. So fitness levels, huge, which you also, talk about and maintaining, especially, your endurance because, oh my God, is it exhausting, right? So cardio, strength training, anything else to maintain your fitness level is huge. But we should be, trying to maintain that healthy lifestyle anyway, right? If we really want to, obviously you see all kinds of cops, but, I try and stay in shape, always the best I can because it's great for stress relief, but two, obviously I'm fighting for my life. If I'm in a fight, this isn't for playtime, right? So,
Right.
so fitness level, but then the next thing, so kind of getting back to that point is, I'm never going to be good enough. I'm never good enough for my next time, right? And I can sit here and say, I don't care how good you are, I'm never good enough. So what steps can I take? Anything and everything I can take to make myself better, right? So how do you make yourself better?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I, would glommed onto our training guy. Hey, what other courses do you have? What other courses do you have? What other courses do you have? And then, going to all the, courses that are offered, and my department's great because they give us great training, great training. So, and I'm fortunate there. Not every police department is like that. So I'm really happy with the training we get. But I grabbed onto that training but I also said, hey, I want to do more, right? And that's when I was like, okay, so I, continued, and this has now been ongoing 10 years where you look at my training level over the last 10 years skyrocketed, right? But not only from the law enforcement side, but then also like, hey, if I find your class, right? I'll go and try and grab the funds to go, right? And if I can't go through department funds, then I reach into my own pocket and I'll go, right? So because you see immediately when I go to, your class and a couple of the other private classes, like the value in getting just, hey, let's get out of this law enforcement perspective or military perspective and let me see the civilian perspective and what really good shooters like yourself are doing, right? And how you're doing it and why. And, and when I saw that, I'm like, oh my God, right? Like, because you guys bring not, I mean, you especially, and I know we want to hear, we're not talking about you, but we are because, I mean, you especially run a really good class with what you bring to the table and your mindset on your instruction method and how you're training. And, for me, that's like, wow, that's great, right? Because I take that stuff back to my officers and other officers, and it makes me better. Still never good enough because I always want to get better, right? Now I'm always a student. And I think that's kind of my point. The other thing was always be a student, always be a student, even though I teach, all right? I teach a lot, right? And you always have to be a student. So I think that was kind of the mindset thing. Like you're always that student. Remember that. Take that lesson to heart and study the game. And then aside from the class perspective, when it comes to studying the game, I also study, again, we talked about it briefly, but other officers' incidents, and not only the officers' incidents, but the civilian incidents. And that's the best thing about the internet now, man, is it makes it so much easier to to watch the body cam footage, the squad car footage, and you see what's going on. Like with mine, my squad car footage was down, which in some, it stinks, but it's, it just is what it is, right? But it was a while ago. Technology's catching up. So that's the best part about today is you can get so much more information. But now the flip side to that is you got to know how to sort through the bullshit, right? So because there's a lot of bullshit out there, which is unfortunate because a lot of people are chasing the dollar. And that's where I think it's important that if you got to have that network of people and you trust in your community, and it's talked about, hey, who's good, who's not good, what are we learning, right? So seek out who's good and not good. And you can't teach yourself off the internet, man. You know, there's something to watching, but there's also something to involving.
Right.
And
Right.
and trying to do it on yourself. Like if I watch something on the internet, having the background that I have and the training I've had, it's easier for me to dissect it, right? But
Sure.
for like new shooters, like they can watch and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go try that. I saw that on the internet." Well, they're not. They don't have that foundational level
Yeah.
to maybe bring it into play.
So how do you though vet? I mean, yes, there's a lot of bullshit out there. We're not going to name people or anything like that, but you know,
No, no,
it
no.
just may not resonate with you, right? Or, you know, again, going to a course and it's just supervised drills, right? But
Yeah.
how do you personally vet that out though? What are you doing? Are you asking people? Are you looking at what they do have out on social media?
So me, I kind of like I kind of take an approach where, okay, what's the course?
Hmm.
Take a look at the course offering, see what the topic of instruction is. Um, then everyone has reviews, right, online, right? So you can look at the reviews online, look at feedback online, and you see the people that are pretty engaged in the community now with social media and everything else like that. But then you also get to watch them and see, hey, are they successful in what they're doing? I don't want to learn from someone that's not successful,
Sure.
right? Because if you can't prove it up with as an instructor, if you can't prove it up or have proved it up, and I mean what happens to all of us, like myself included, is I'm getting old, man. So like I might not be able to do what I used to do, but I in my head I know what's there and how to make it happen, right? So I don't want to say there's something to wisdom and experience, but like, and gunfighting and shooting hasn't really changed that much, okay, over a long time. So I look for people that are accomplished,
Hmm.
um, maybe broadly accomplished. But then, the final thing I take is I kind of try and put out feelers in my community, um, in the law enforcement community, because some of us have gone to classes like, hey, who's good? Who do you like? Why did you like them?
Hmm.
And I have that option available. Not everybody has that option, but that's okay. And then, my final test is, oftentimes I'm not even searching for a class, but me having been in an OIS, you kind of have a group of friends that, also have been in OISs, right? And if one of those officers or an officer I respect says, man, I took this class, it was awesome, I'll take a hard look at that. And then, hey, that might be something I go look at and do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for the audience, OIS is officer involved shooting. Not
Oh, yeah.
everybody knows. Yeah, yeah. Not all of them all know the acronyms and stuff like that. I often forget that all the time. So awesome. Okay, so so here's an interesting thing, right? So obviously I'm friends with you. I'm friends with Jared Reston, and I, at least in my purview, in my circle of friends, the gunfights I hear about the most are you and Jared's, right? And I think the interesting thing between you two is both your opponents were not on drugs, right? His guy didn't even have a record. Your guy, he had a record. He was pretty ballsy, man. Didn't he rob that same bank twice?
Yeah. So my
so
my
so
guy had my guy robbed the bank. It was like 6 months before. The FBI interviewed him 10 days before.
Mhm.
He hit it the second time. So my guy, gangster disciple,
Mhm.
the three guns that they took off ballistics were tied to 4 homicides in the city of Chicago.
Mm.
Not to say he didn't, but the guns he had did. So um, he had a pretty extensive record. FBI interviewed him 10 days before. He threw in a diversionary call. They were up on his phone, popped his battery out of his phone, and hit the same bank again because he had a good score off of it, right? So,
Yeah.
um, he was prepared. Obviously, he had, his two handguns and his SKS loaded up, ready to go. So, he's pretty well thought out for individual bank robber, right? He had the tools, and pretty good fighter. Definitely wanted to win on his side, and I wanted to win more, and obviously I had a little bit better training and experience. So, um,
Right.
which
That's the
helps.
thing. That's the thing in the training community, man. And I'm not going to say that they're wrong, but too often, all we do is talk about mindset, 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 and skill set takes a back seat.
You got to have a total package, and
Yeah.
this is, and again, this is what we'll talk about. And like, you brought up Jared. Jared's a great guy, and you look at what's what he's doing now, in the teaching community as well, right?
Hmm.
Because,
Hmm.
and it's kind of the same way I do, kind of like, obviously I'll teach the officers. I don't go out, on the like the training circuit. I coach soccer, and that's kind of my favorite thing to do. So I
Hmm.
I, I kind of step away from the work thing with
Yeah.
the personal thing, where it's not all the same thing, and I like to diversify a little bit. But a work thing, I'm intense, right? But it's a total package thing, and people need to understand, hey, this is a total package thing. Mindset, mindset, mindset. Well, how bad do you want to win? And if you want to just tie it to mindset, fine. But then how bad do you want to win? But if you want to win, then you have to have the intelligence to have the tactical thought process and the technical
Yeah.
process,
Yeah.
right? And the technical process, your technique, or how, hey, can you hit what you're aiming at? Can you reload? How fast can you do that? How many various ways can we do that? Because gunfights are really dynamic. It's not just sit on a line and shoot. It's movement. It's different shooting positions. Are we training that? What are we doing, right? How are we doing our reloads? What are you going to do if this happens, this happens, this happens? And that's something we also kind of miss with, the whole training set is not only can you practice what you actually do in a physical application, but you can practice what you do in a mental application as well.
Yeah.
Or you're running through in your mind, well, hey, if I have to shoot one-handed from this position, how am I going to do that? And walk yourself through the steps, right? And then put yourself through the steps and make sure it works right along your brain. But you can be thinking about things constantly on how you're going to perform and what are you going to do. And I think that's something that people miss. Like they think, oh, I'm just going to go to the range and shoot. But yeah, so that's kind of a little way to touch on it, right?
Yeah, I will tell you, and I kind of harp on this, right? Like mindset and fundamentals are those things that everybody mentions in their class for the most part. But you ask 10 different dudes and you'll get 10 different answers as to what mindset is and what fundamentals are. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I'll just share something, and I hope I'm not misquoting him, but this is the way I understood and this is the way it resonated with me. So Varg Freeborn, we were talking about mindset and I just threw in a little clarification to make sure this is what he was saying. And he said, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. He said, think of mindset like a box, right? And if someone steps into that box, you can flip that switch immediately and give them an appropriate amount of punishment for stepping in that box, right?
Yeah, that's definitely a way to look at it for sure.
Yeah.
Because I mean, and that's so, we can talk about violence of
Yeah.
action,
Yeah.
immediacy of action, right? But again, I'm talking about action. I'm not talking about reaction. So, and that's
Yeah.
kind of something I think we really need to hit on is what are your actions going to be? It's not that I'm reacting to this situation. It's I've trained to know that if this situation, if this dude hops out of his car and running back in my car with a gun shooting at me, I'm trained up to know my action is going to be this
Right. Yeah.
to handle that, right?
Right.
So, hey, let's if you want to win the fight, what are your actions going to be to ensure that that happens?
Right.
Not just from like
Exactly.
how do you shoot, but how do you train, how do you study, how do you prepare, it's a total package. So that's, yeah, it's
Yeah.
a huge, yeah, so I
And,
agree.
and then the further part of that is you need to have the skill set to be able to deliver that appropriate amount of punishment, right? And that box is ever flowing, but you've got to know, for example, if someone's jaw jacking you for 25 yards away, right? If your box is huge and you do something, maybe that wasn't the appropriate level, right?
No, and then no, yeah,
But if another dude is up on you and he's a yard away, do you have the proper skill set to deliver because you can have all the mindset in the world. It's like, hey, baby, it's go time. But if you can't throw across, or shoot in or draw your gun fast, nobody cares about your mindset.
And that's where, that's where, you gotta, yeah, that's where more and more, I kind of see the importance of passing the torch, for lack of a better way of putting it, right? Because like I said, I'm not getting any younger. We're not getting any younger, but how do we train up, the next group of officers to, step up to that? And it's not just that, because, hey, I mean, you wanna pick on me, the old guy, hey, that's fine. I'm gonna, hey, whatever. I mean, it's gonna be fun, game on. Okay, but it's not about necessarily every individual person, but it's also recognizing, hey, I know where I'm at. So your skill set, you got to know what your skill set and your skill set limitations are too, and that's just part of wisdom that comes, right? So, and maybe sometimes, you talk about whatever, but how do you, sometimes winning the situation is removing yourself from the situation, but you have to have the intelligence ahead of time to remove, right?
Yep.
So you just got to be smart, right? Let's be smart about what we're doing.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, reloads were an important part of this fight because you went through a lot of rounds, right? Because you kept 12 rounds in your magazine.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So
how many
yes,
reloads?
yes,
Three?
it holds 13 rounds in the mag. Yes, we all know a Glock 21 mag holds 13 rounds. Okay, so we can,
Yeah.
because I get that a lot, right? But so I loaded through, so it was two reloads. I had three mags, so I had at the time, the two backup mags on my belt, right? So that's what I was carrying for the Glock 21. Now Safariland, I carry the Safariland triple stack slimline. So I got the three backup mags on my belt before we get to my other mags, right? But then it was the two mags, so two reloads. But those all happened automatic. The first reload, I'm going to tell you, you don't realize how quick you go through your first mag, right? Especially if someone's running up on you. So the first reload was, holy crap, I'm empty already. It was kind of like a little bit like, oh my goodness, it happens, right? But the reload portion was automatic, right? Once you recognize, and that's, those little moments of reading your gun and your weapon system and what your weapon system doing. I mean, that's all, important to practice, like knowing what your weapon system's doing. I like to say, read your gun, right? What's your gun telling you, right? So, but the ability to read your gun quickly is also part of the process, right?
So did your gun go to slide lock?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Both times.
So
both times.
Both times. Okay. And do you think that you visually recognized the slide lock and that's what was the impetus for you to reload, or do you think you felt it go to slide lock and that was the impetus to reload?
Visual recognition of
It
the
was
slide
visual.
lock.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's where, so you talked about the feeling part, right? So the feeling part, like if people are like, oh, I got this trigger or that trigger or whatever, you're not going to feel your damn trigger, man. You're going to be pulling your trigger, right?
Right.
So you're going to feel some things, but you also have to, the greatest fighting tool is vision, right? So, and you'd be amazed at how much vision comes into play, right? So let's start with your eyes as the greatest fighting tool. So vision and just recognizing, what's going on. So yeah, visual. But once you recognize it, then the reload part was automatic. Once you recognize, hey, this is what my weapon's telling me. Okay. If that answers it for you.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you know me, dude. Body goes where the eyes go. Remember the old thing that we did when we moved the eyes and stuff like that? So that always gets everyone's attention when I do that exercise in class. So absolutely. So here's part of the thing, though. It's like, I got big mitts, right? You've seen my grip. It's high. Guns don't lock back on me, right? And I'm always open for criticism and things of that nature. So the reason why I asked you about feel is I know I can feel when my gun doesn't lock back and it's empty. There's a ka-chunk feeling. Whether or not I'm going to feel that in a fight, I don't know, but I'm so in tune to that. What would your advice be to me? Would it be like, bro, you need to change your grip so that shit locks back? Or okay.
No, and that's where I don't get slide lock anymore either. But I did, so like with the Gen 5 Glocks have been kind of nice to me. So I actually get it now. But like, on the anything Gen 4 prior with a 9 millimeter platform, I won't get slide lock. But it's just so, you got to go through that extra step, now obviously on your reload, right? So, but
Right.
whatever.
Click, tap, rack, reload.
Right, correct.
Yeah.
But I mean, but if you know that and you train that, hey, I know I've got that extra step on reload. Okay, who cares? But again, that's for me. What is that on the clock? Is that a quarter second more? Is that where are we at on the clock
Mm-hmm.
on that? So to me, that's where kind of the split part comes into play. But because I like to, again, if you break things down in eighths of second, quarter seconds, those matter because in that quarter second, well, that's 2 rounds coming at me or 2 rounds I'm missing going outbound, right?
Yeah.
So, I look at the splits in what's the incoming rounds or what's the outgoing rounds.
Right.
So that's why to me the speed matters, right? So, but I mean, if you're shooting that platform well, right? And then the other thing, we can talk about that all we want to, but hits, let's talk about hits, right? So this, to your point, if you're shooting that platform well and you're making the hits, that's kind of going to be the most important part first.
Right.
Before we get to your reloading situation.
Yeah.
Right. So,
yeah.
I mean, there's ways to look at that.
Yeah. And like you said, we said before about the complete package. I mean, you could look at one problem from many different angles. A, the mindset to execute the solution, right?
Yeah.
B, the skill set to execute that solution and the kit to execute that solution, right? So
Absolutely.
if I'm out, I mean, I'm big. Everybody knows I'm big. I'm, almost, well, I used to be 6'3". I'm probably 6'2.5" now, but I'm 270, 275. I could hide an MP5 on me if I wanted to, right? So
sure.
Going around with a 5+ extension, so I got 22 in the mag and 1 in the pipe. That's 23 rounds. That's almost double what you had in one.
And that's my point. But you're making that decision.
Right.
And that's a smart decision. And that's where like you're going out, taking out a package for you to fight with that's, appropriate. Right. Because I mean, obviously it's nice to carry those little guns and it's so comfortable and cute and everything else like that. And I'm going to tell you, hey, that's great because I'd much rather have you out there with that weapon system. I don't care what it is than no weapon system. But if we're going to be realistic about our weapon system choice, I mean, to me, you're taking at least a Glock 19 out. And your backup mag, maybe have the extender, the +2, so you got 17 in the backup mag, where you at least have 2 mags with you, right? I mean, that's a realistic everyday carry, package, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we got to be careful because we're going into the smaller and smaller. But is that a realistic package? Like, we're not there to make the gun go bang and scare people. We're there to fight and survive, right? If we have to, if we can't remove ourselves, then do we have the appropriate package to fight and survive? So by whatever you want to call it, your kit choice, that's a smart kit choice. So, I mean, there's smarter kit choices and another kit choice. But again, I'm not going to like sit here and say, oh, dude, or this, or like, I don't know, there's that one article, dig the kit, or I don't even know what that, you know what I mean? But like, I'm not going to be that, like, right? But it's just like, hey, good for you. But people miss, I think, the responsibility factor, right? And when I'll get to what I mean by that is like, hey, that's great, but if you're going to have a gun on you. It's a huge responsibility. Okay, tremendous, right? From so many ways. But take the time and have the responsibility to put the training and knowledge into the whole responsibility of carrying that weapon system.
Yep.
Right? So I don't know how, I mean, I might not be phrasing it the best way, but
no, absolutely, man. Absolutely. But it's that balance. It's that entire package.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have, I can't tell you how many guys I have come to my class and it's like when we start zeroing and it's that thing, right? We're like, all right, 3 rounds, 1-inch circle, let's go, bang, bang, bang. And I come over, make sure you're zeroed. And they're just standing there with their iridium Cerakoted slide and their gold barrel and their, all this other stuff. And just looking at me going like, you're impressed with this, aren't you? No, in the brief, I said, I don't give a fuck about your gun. So no, I'm not. But that's cool, dude. If you want to have all that, Dude,
Yeah,
I love my
absolutely.
right, but you
Yeah.
better be able to do this at
Yeah,
least to, a
absolutely.
certain level. So, and when I look at your zero and it's 5 inches to the left, I hope you weren't carrying that thing. No. Well, if you're not carrying that thing, why'd you bring it to my class?
Well,
You know,
and that's, yeah, I mean, and that's where, I love guns, don't get me wrong. And like,
sure.
I'll have this, or this, but like, and every once in a while when I go, and I'll go shoot my 1911, or I'll shoot my 226, or I'll go shoot my Beretta, or whatever, you know, I'll always finish off with my work gun.
Sure.
I always finish off with my work gun. And my work gun is Glock. And I'm not going to bash any other weapon manufacturer. They all do phenomenal things, right? But I chose Glock, and I chose Glock because of just the simplicity and, more importantly, the manipulations. I mean, there's so much to manipulations that people miss out on,
Yeah.
in how important manipulations are of the weapon system. So that, I mean, you kind of touch on it, but it's like the manipulation part of the weapon system is huge, whether that
Yep.
be, hey, I know I'm not going to get slide lock on this package. Okay, that's fine, because there's a lot of packages you're not going to get slide lock on a weapon package as a handgun if you're going to high grip like you do, I do.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, any good shooter's doing it at this point because we understand the benefit of that high grip, and
Yep.
we'll sacrifice the slide lock for the shooting benefit, right? It's not a sacrifice. I'm going to take the shooting benefit over the reloading benefit any day of the week, right?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So, but I mean, you get into it, but weapon choice, choose what you want, but like, hey, train with it and be good with it. And that's kind of my point to the responsibility. Like, hey, be good with your choice. Like,
Right.
You want to get
Right.
that Gucci gun, hey, get the Gucci gun, awesome. But then, hey, train with it. You know how to use it, like run it, know how to run it. And that's
Yep.
important.
Yep. One other thing, getting back to the ammo real quick. As far as fatal shots, how many fatal shots did you have on that guy?
So you have the 7 and then the 3 to the head. So 10.
And every single one of them by themselves would eventually have killed him.
You would think. I mean,
With time,
obviously without medical.
with time, without
With
medical.
time. Yeah, with time.
And it took
With time.
7. It took 7 before he finally dropped and you hit him in the face.
The 3 to the head finished it
Yeah.
off. Yeah, 3 to the CNS. And that's where, I mean, it's just like, what? Oh, I'm not going to carry this. No, man, it's not the ammo. Like I said, the ammo performed flawlessly, exactly as it was supposed to,
Yeah.
right? But human beings are very strong-willed and tough, and they can take a tremendous amount of damage and still have the ability to survive. And a prime example of that would be Jared, right?
Right.
So, I mean, you never quit fighting, and you always stay in the fight, right? So that just, that was him. And obviously you never quit fighting, right? So, and that's, you can talk about that part of the mindset, like, hey, if you get hit, well, you're still fighting, fight, right? So, but that, it's important, right? But so the ammo performed flawlessly, but targeting now, obviously we get into, my target zone when I'm teaching is try and go high thoracic cavity CNS as quickly as we can, because the sooner we can stop the threat, that would be the CNS hit, the better, right? So but again, that might not always be available, which is why capacity comes back to, hey, if you don't have the CNS shot available, well, take what you can get. So it depends.
Yeah. Yep. It does. And then you need to have the skill set to play in those variables. So, anything else learned before we get to the next segment that you want to cover? So we talked about mobility, right? We talked about capacity. We talked about ammo and what capacity choices they give you. Minds, the proper mindset to win. What else? Reloads. We talked about reloads. What else was in there that you think you took away that you're like, I need to work on this?
So tactically, one thing I tell people is don't play peekaboo, for lack of a better way of putting it. And
Okay.
What I mean by that is, people like pop out and shoot, because we do a lot of force on force training, and so it'll be like pop out and shoot and then pop back behind cover, pop out and shoot, well, no, okay, stop playing peekaboo. If you're going to get out, get a stable shooting platform, get your sights on the target and make hits and run the gun and continue to make hits, because hits are what's going to win the fight for you, right? If you're not making hits,
Okay.
you're going to have to worry. Case in point would be, the Dallas thing, right?
Yeah.
So, you saw that bad guy, very well trained bad guy, came out from behind the pillar, starts making hits, stayed out. Officer pops behind cover. Bad guy advances, flanks him, pops
Flanks
him,
them.
right?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's where, when I kind of say don't play too much peekaboo, that's kind of what I mean. Or like up, down behind a car. If you're going to come up, and most gun battles are on cars, and like 65% of officers' gun battles are on cars.
Mm-hmm.
But if you study vehicle combat, right? So the winner always keeps the high ground
Mm-hmm.
most of the time. Like you
Mm-hmm.
get studied over and over and over again. And like I was in an FBI class where we did vehicle fighting. I'm like, they're talking about it, like do this. I'm like, no, look at every single one of those videos you just showed us. The winner stayed high the whole time. So obviously take the high ground, even though it's a level playing field, take the high ground if you can. Like get that elevated position. Flanking is huge. The faster you're going to flank, because I ran to his passenger side rear. He had no idea I was there, right? So yeah, I haven't flanked. He has no idea I just flanked him. So with your
Mm-hmm.
movement, work on flanking movement and the high ground movement. So that was kind of a takeaway. And then on the movement part, it's move, stable platform, shoot, move, stable platform,
So
shoot.
that's interesting. Let's talk about the stable platform, right? Because you have these ideas about concealment and cover and things of that nature, right? So, and it's going to be kind of hard to do it visually, especially over the audio podcast. What is a stable platform to you? Is that, for example, if you're behind the edge of a wall, that dude's over there, you're saying not to peekaboo. You're saying kind of get out in front enough to clear your gun and just start going to
Well, I mean,
work? Or are you
obviously,
talking about
up and gun, like, you do a
yeah,
lean out, but I mean, like, what I mean by stable platform is like have your feet or body position set when you're firing. I mean, you can try and fire while you're walking or on the move or running or
okay,
whatever, not as effective. But I mean, like, get to your firing spot, get a good shooting platform, whether that be prone, kneeling, seated, standing, I don't care. Set up a good shooting platform so you can make good hits from a stable shooting platform, if that makes sense. So
yep,
I work a lot on having to move to this position and shoot from there, move to that position, shoot from there, right? And then you can let your gun run in those different positions for transitions or whatever else. But I like to be at stable shooting platforms because, and if you look at the gunfights, how often do you see someone running and shooting at the same time where they're making hits? Okay, so I mean, it happens, sure.
sure.
Okay, sure,
Especially with a rifle, but
different story, right? Yeah,
yeah,
but I mean, when you're walking and shooting, obviously we're hitting that platform where we're timing that shot and it's going off. So
right.
it's in theory stable in that second, right, where you're going to break that shot, right?
Mhm.
But what's better, running there and hammering with 5 or 10 shots, or like that one, 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 right? So I kind of like look at I'm going to run, set up a stable platform, and shoot from that stable platform.
So let me ask you this: would you give up a stable platform for more cover, or would you rather have, or would you give up a state, or vice versa? I'm just going to say vice versa. You know what I mean? Where
So, and obviously, I mean, situation dictates tactics, and then there's no
sure,
genuine rule, right? If
right.
that makes
There's no
sense.
absolute. Yeah, there's no
Yeah.
absolute.
And that's where I mean, like, read the situation. Because, like, everyone's like, well, why did you charge him? You were behind cover behind his car. It's like, because I saw a moment where had no idea where I was. I ran right up on him. Because that way I knew I was going to make the hits and you'd hope
Yeah,
to end right there. Right. So, and that's where I was like, well, why did you? It's like, hey, man, I don't know. It's just what came to my head. Right. So, and it worked. Right. But it's like,
yeah,
so, I'm not going to say, hey, this or that, but I'm saying, hey, you can have good cover, but you can also have a great shooting platform behind that cover on like a lean out, right?
yeah,
Where you're
yeah.
not going to expose very much. So it's not necessarily about like a cover versus, and obviously like I ran to cover and I ran to cover again and then ran to cover again where I'm behind a car. So, but once you get to, either behind cover or wherever you're going to be for your shooting platform, your firing platform, just be stable. Try and find a way to stabilize yourself where you're going to make good hits. I think is more the way to look at it that way.
Sure. Okay. Okay. Cool. Sorry for splitting hairs there,
No,
audience. I
yeah,
just kind of
no,
wanted to get into that a little bit because
yeah,
I
no.
found that to be Very interesting. Okay, so we're to about an hour. Now we're going to come on to what a lot of people is their favorite segment. This is the get it off your chest segment.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Can I
so,
choose not to? Can I choose not to participate?
well, we'll see. We'll see. No, you can't. Anyway, what do people need to start doing to get better? Or what do they need to stop doing to get better? And whatever else you want to talk about, man. Don't call anybody out. Don't tell us about your neighbors and stuff like that. But, what would you like to get off your chest as an observation? And again, it could be about anything. It could be about the training industry, law enforcement in general, anything you want to, anything you want. So
I'll say start doing. People need to start realizing the importance of their own personal involvement for their own personal safety, in every aspect of the board, right? I don't care how many laws there are about this, that, or the next thing. But when someone comes to kill you, the police are 3 to however many minutes away. So what have you done? And I certainly promise you they're not going to obey the I can't have a gun law. Yeah. So since we know that, you, the law-abiding citizen or the police officer or whoever you are, what steps are you taking? What personal responsibility are you taking to prepare yourself to survive? And whether that be, and I'm not like a prepper or anything like that, so that's not me. You know what I mean? But you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm not like, I don't have like the, the bomb shelter. Like those people, hey, there's something to be learned from that type mindset, right? So, it's kind of more along that mindset in a realistic way. Like, what steps are you taking to protect yourself and your family? And are you taking the right ones? Now that's a whole nother thing, but at least you're taking some. And are you thinking about that? And are you taking on that responsibility? So that would be the thing that I would say, hey, let's do this, right? So more people need to do that, if that makes sense.
Sure. What do they need to stop doing though?
Oh God. Stop doing. Stop sitting on the keyboard in the basement telling other people what they should have done, and get out there and try and actually do it for yourself. It's really easy to criticize, but that's not going to win anything for you. So instead of criticizing, or the officer should have done this, or this, or why the hell did they do that? Did they win?
Yeah.
Did they win? Right. Yeah. So, hey man, just shut up. And
I love the video. What was it? Was it in Vegas? The gunfight where it started with the officer was shooting while driving, and then it stopped.
Yeah, like in that chase.
Yeah, chase. And then he did that reload, and it was backwards, and then he adjusted. He won that fight.
Right.
He won that fight.
But hey, what is everyone talking about?
Yeah, they're talking about the dumb reload. Yeah. Shut up.
That's my point. Yeah. So stop doing. That would be it. Just shut up. Yeah. And again, that's funny that you bring that one up, because that's just another one where, hey, cop firing through a windshield. Now, I wasn't the first cop to do that, right? But the thing that I really like about my story getting out there is it got a great amount of exposure. And there's a lot of great tactic stuff in my gun battle. I'm not going to lie. We can take my gun battle bar. We can look at a lot of great tactic stuff, but shooting through the windshield and the flanking and the movement and shooting and, car in a crash, shooting under the car, my cover position. We can take a lot of good tactics away from a gunfight. And, there's stuff I would have done differently too, but I know that, but I don't need to hear about it from you in your basement. Right. So stop doing that. So if there was a stop doing that. I mean, it's ridiculous. Why didn't you run him over the car? Man, because I didn't run him over the car. Okay, I shot him. I mean, just shut up, right? So that would be the stop doing that. People get so, stupid, 45-9 debate. This, just stop doing that. Can we all just get on the same page, help each other out? We in the firearms community need to do a lot better job getting on the same page, helping each other out. Because, we just need to do that. And we need to stop looking like knuckleheads, where we're doing stupid, unsafe shit, where it's just ammo. So, we need to be more professional, any gun owner, and we also need to help each other. And what I mean by that is you've got new gun owners at the range, right? And I'll go to the range, and I'll go to private ranges a lot too. Even though I can go shoot for free at my police department, I got to go pay to a private range, buy my own ammo and everything else like that, right?
Yeah.
I'll still do that because I just want to get more shooting in, right? And I can't always go to my PD, and I did, but man, you see those shooters struggling. You see the people like snicker and laughing, oh, this dumbass, blah, blah, blah. And you see the YouTube videos, look at this dumbass, right? Well, hey, if you know what you're doing, can you just be nice and say, hey, man, hey, I'm not trying to get in your way or whatever, but hey, I'm a firearms instructor. Do you want me to help you? Can I just help you for a little bit? Would that be okay? If you don't want me to help, okay, no problem. No problem. Don't worry about it. But can I help you? Can I help you? And just, because there's a lot of, but then, so if you're a knucklehead idiot and you think you're tactical, and you're the bomb and you're really not, don't help people until you learn what you're doing, right? I don't know how to explain it, man, but
oh, dude. So I'll tell you my story. So I'm at my local indoor range, right? And I'm testing out the Walther PPQ for the TAC, right? Doing a little review, did a fast drill on video. I'll have that up later on about it, about the gun and everything. So next to me, two guys come up and they're just having a good time. Honestly, if you're just having a good time and you're safe, fingers off the trigger, you're not pointing the gun at me, dude, I don't care. I honestly don't care, right? If you're having issues and you're struggling and I'm seeing that look of consternation, I might say something if I think you're open to it, right? Yeah. So I'm shooting, and these guys, they started to have fun, and then they started shooting just like with a 17 or something like that, and they started having issues. So, but then that tactical guy came over and said, "Hey guys, I'm a NRA certified firearms instructor." He literally said that, dude. I thought he was going to show him his card. Right.
Okay.
The laminated NRA
instructor. Business to try and teach him or what? I mean,
and he comes up, he's like, he goes, so hey man, I would like to go ahead and show you some things about what you're doing wrong. Right. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I didn't like his intro, but whatever. He's being cool. Like, oh yeah, please. And so this is what you need to do. And he said something, keep your finger off the trigger, yada, yada. Here's your grip. But his grip was jacked. Right. So he does a demo for it. I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. So he's got the shoot and see targets where they're like diamonds, right? There's 5 diamonds, right? And he goes, okay, so you got the middle bullseye there. I'm going to put 3 rounds into the bullseye, right? And he shoots and he goes, boom, boom, boom. He put him in the bullseye, but the one at 7 o'clock.
Oh,
right. And then the guy goes like, which one were you shooting at? And he goes, well, I was shooting the one at the middle. And he's like, I'm not having a good day, guys. Good luck. And he walks.
Oh, come on.
He walks. And it was awesome. It was awesome, man. And at that point, dude, I was laughing so hard. I couldn't help out the guys. I couldn't help out. So I just packed up my stuff and I left, man.
Yeah, because you were laughing so hard. Yeah.
That was amazing.
You had to go clean your pants from pissing in your pants. You laughed so hard. Yeah, I can only imagine.
Oh my God, it was amazing, man. So
but that's what I'm talking about. You know what I mean. And that's where, it's nice that they went to go help. So that's nice because we got to help each other, right? But if you're going to do that, be good, right? And that's my point. We need to be good, right? So, I mean, I don't know how to explain it, right? But we need more good people, skilled, quality people in those roles. And you're seeing it more and more to, engage the firearm community.
Right.
With help. I mean, and I get people are chasing the buck. I get it. I understand that. But, teaching a course is one thing, but just, hey, if you're at the range and whatever, and, helping people out, helping new shooters out and encouraging new shooters and bringing in young shooters and role modeling new shooters, and we, we do a good job of that, but I think we could do a lot better at that. So
we can. We got to be careful in a lot of ways, man, but just have a good heart, man, trying to help people out and stuff like that. And if, I think a lot of people are afraid of rejection and stuff like that, saying, "Oh, I don't need any help," or asking a question on the internet, or having an opinion and getting slammed down. People are kind of afraid of that, and I think we need to have a little bit more open mind, realize where we started from, the information we got from good people, and relay and pass that on down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well said. Well said,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. On the other hand, if the dude's an asshole, he's an asshole. Keep on trucking, right?
Well,
So,
yeah.
so usually I ask people, right? Hey, man, if people want to get a hold of you, but is there a reason why they would want to get a hold of you, Tim?
Of me,
Yeah.
I mean, if they want to get a hold of me,
Yeah.
anybody can call Skokie Police Department. I probably shouldn't say that because, I like to try and keep my
The
work stuff off, but
non-emergency number.
non-emergency number. But I mean, if somebody needs to get a hold of me, and this is where, like, I'll say, hey, I took a job to serve and protect the public, right?
Yeah.
And if anyone needs to get a hold of me, there's ways to get a hold of me. I mean, it's just, I'm here to help people,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's what I took a career to do, is to help people. So if somebody needs my help or whatever, and if they need to get a hold of me right now, I'm still a cop at Skokie. So, there's ways to find me there, right? So,
And I mean, do
that's easy way.
you do speaking engagements
So
on
I,
this?
so
On that?
so like for me, I do, but I don't. I should say I don't self-promote, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. So the way I kind of do like speaking engagements is like, if somebody, like, say you and I know each other. If you want to do a podcast, hey, no problem. If you ask me,
Yeah.
hey, we do it, no problem. Yeah, absolutely, Jedi. We'll do one. But it's like, for me, I'll go to other law enforcement agencies if they ask. So
Okay.
they'll say, hey, can you come talk? I'll be like, yeah, absolutely. Just, ask me, no problem. I'll come talk. Right. So I've done a couple, talks. I go to FLETC, the Federal Law Enforcement
Yeah.
Training Center. I know you're not an
Yeah.
academic guy. So I go to FLETC because I kind of got hooked in from like giving a talk. And then, when people see me present on my shooting, they'll be like, wow. And I'll be like, okay, hey, then they'll be like, hey, can you come talk? And I'm like, sure, absolutely. Just ask me
Yeah.
and I'll talk. But I don't go do like I said, I don't really go do I don't know how to phrase it. I don't want to,
The circuit, if you will.
yeah, that would be, I was going to say that, but I don't do that. And I don't want to, I have no problem with, people that go on the circuit. That's great, and it's nice that they're out there, doing that. But to me, I'm a little bit more like, hey, if you need my help, ask me and I'll help you.
Yeah.
If
Bro,
that, you know what I mean? Like, if
you
that
got
makes sense. So
you got soccer, bro.
I got that, and I got
It's
work.
soccer, dude.
I mean, I got everything. I
Exactly.
love soccer, man. I love soccer, but
I
like,
know.
but it's like, but like even the, like the teaching stuff. Like if somebody, like, because I'll do CCW classes, right?
Mhm.
So like that's just very rare. Like only if the other guy I work with, if my partner needs my help for CCW, another cop I work with, range guy, like if he needs my help for CCW, be like, hey, can you come help me? I got a lot of students. Yeah, no problem, man. But like, I don't really like to. I like to kind of separate, that part. When I'm shooting, I like to just go shoot, like either with my snipers or with a buddy or by my, like, I love to just go. That's my, like that's my piece. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
if like, I literally drool behind a sniper rifle, man. Like I'll just get behind it. I just like, I'm on the stock and like just drool coming down because I'm like just so relaxed, right? It's just like, that's, you know what I mean? Like that's how
Yeah.
I can chill, right? So sometimes I like to just go shoot by myself, but like, but if somebody asks for my help, I'll go help them, I guess is my point. But
Awesome.
so I'll
Awesome.
talk on my talk, but it's like I'll do FLETC like once a year, but if anybody wants me to do it, I'll do it. If that makes sense.
There you go, man. There's the invite. That's what I was trying to get out of you, man. Because
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
got it.
the study of that fight. I mean, there's so many fights within the fight within that fight, that and so many lessons to be taken away from that. So awesome. All right, guys, well, it's time to pay the bills because I don't want Mrs. Jedi getting mad at me for doing this stuff.
Oh,
All right, guys. So hey,
either.
listen. Yeah, exactly. So a couple things, guys. Look down in the in the show notes if you're looking at this on YouTube. Actually, if you're just looking at anything in the show notes, discounts from my sponsors in there. Good people like Victos, Phoenix Ammunition, Boresight Solutions, PHLster, and on and on. Support those people. They're the ones that primary and secondary. They're the ones that enable me to get this done without going into too much into my own pocket. If you want to train with me, because Tim Gramins says that you should. Uh,
That's true. Hey, no, I want a moment before you close this off.
okay, we'll do that. So
So
go to.
I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Well, let me finish up that way. So go to modernsamuraiproject.com for the registration. It's modernsamuraiproject /Shopify. I know, guys, Shopify, it's hard to change over once you get started, right? Check it out. If I'm not coming to you, to your part of the country, it's because you're not looking hard enough, man. I am all over from California to Massachusetts, New Hampshire to Florida to Texas, and everywhere in between, man. Love the opportunity to train with you. So go ahead, Tim. What were you going to say, bro?
Okay, so I was gonna say, like, I'm not, hey, so Scott is, when you look for good trainers, okay, Scott's a phenomenal trainer. You know where to find him in Modern Samurai. I was incredibly impressed walking out of his class, okay, with the amount of wealth of knowledge, the technical ability he even passed on to me, and what it enabled me to do to take back to my range officers and my officers. Okay, so I'm gonna sit here and say, hey, I've gone to a lot of classes, okay, and I'll have like a top 10 list or a top 5 list or a top list. Okay, Scott in his class is definitely in the top 5 list without question. And man, if you're coming back, I'm coming back to you, and it's nice to be able to pick your brain anytime. He's a super guy, great teacher. Take his class.
Thanks, man.
That's all I gotta say, man. And like, I don't know how else to put it. So you can listen to me, you cannot listen to me, but take Scott's class. It's a great class if you can make it happen.
Yep. So that being said, if you want to train with me in the Chicagoland area and you want to train with Tim, because he's coming to my class, I will be at Alpha Range in McHenry, Chicagoland area for my 3-day AIWB, that one day that flows into the 2-day Red Dot class. It was a huge success last time. You get all of me in this 3 days. Tim's going to be there. Super honored to have him out there. And we'll go out there. I do want to say one thing before you went on. So, like, I knew who you were before you came to my class, but I didn't know your name like off the top of my head, right? Because I remember reading that Police One article and stuff like that. So Jim Dexter, everybody knows Jim Dexter, tactically
super
sound,
guy,
super guy.
super guy.
AIs for me a lot is teaching his own Red Dot class now for departments and such, amazing dude. Anyway, he goes, bro, you know who that is, right? I go, no, dude, there's like 21 people here, man, and he's like, that's the guy that carries all the ammo. Oh, that dude that got in a gunfight now he carries like 400 rounds on his person at all times. He's like, well, I think it's like 100 or so. I go, that's the guy.
Yeah, that's the guy, that's man. Me.
So yeah, man, that was kind of cool that you were there. I was like, oh man, that's awesome, man.
Well, it's funny because like when I go to classes or whatever, I'm a simple guy, if that makes sense. Like, it's not about me. It's about you, right? And Jim's a super guy. Like, I actually have him come into my PD to host, his Red Dot course for law enforcement.
Yeah, why not, man? You get continued ed for it, right? So.
Yeah, but like I go around and it's not about me, man. It's not about, and that's where, like I said, I don't go on the circuit. I don't do that. I think it's great that people that do, but like for me, like if I go to your class, man, I'm there to learn from you what you're about. Yeah. Because I want to get better. And that's why I said we started out, you always need to be the student. So be the student, make yourself better. But you're a phenomenal teacher. And I said it, but you are. I'm not saying it to embarrass you, but I'm saying it because I know you're good. Yep. Right? I know you're good. So, understand that way. Makes sense?
I appreciate that. And that's a perfect segue, guys. Remember, take all this, make yourself better, and be good, stay safe, get training.